Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. We're gonna make you feel old tonight, but like in a fun way. Because 1990s nostalgia is all the rage, and Fiona Forbes will give us her report on why we're all yearning for that simpler time of ripped jeans, Saturday morning cartoons, and affordable rent. Plus, who is pushing all the Canadian conspiracy slop on your social media feed? The answer might actually be a conspiracy, but journalist Jen St. Dennis will have just the facts, ma'am. But first, so far in 2026, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has fined 2 different Loblaw grocery stores, Fortino's and Superstore, for maple washing. In fact, over the last year, the CFIA has issued $47,000 worth of fines for maple washing. So what is maple washing? Well, here to explain is the CEO of Palmer and Stamnes, PS&Co, a marketing communications holding group, and a founder of ethical food group, Bob Stamnes. Bob, hello, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Mo.
So let's just start from the top. What exactly is maple washing?
So before we get to maple washing, we should talk a little bit in terms of what made in Canada or produced in Canada really is, what that's about, to understand why that term even kind of came to be.
Okay.
So the CFIA, as you mentioned, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, has 2 designations, and one is made in Canada. And made in Canada can be simply the end piece of production on a product.
Okay.
So the wheat could come from Czechia and the sugar could come from Germany, but as long as it's put together in its final form, it would qualify as made in Canada. Produced in Canada, much more stringent, and that would represent a product that for the most part, probably 98% of the product was harvested and manufactured and then ultimately sold in Canada. So it's really important to kind of look at that distinction when we talk about maple washing.
So the CFIA is basically certifying whether something is made in Canada or produced in Canada.
That's correct.
Okay.
So maple washing is, in its broadest definition, would be a product that is marketed or advertised as being Canadian when in fact it's not really.
Right. Okay.
So it's looser
if
it's under the label of made in Canada versus under the label of produced in Canada.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, if companies are engaging in maple washing, doesn't that mean that the recent push for buying Canadian, which was in response to, protectionist policies from US President Donald Trump, doesn't that mean that the buy Canadian movement was successful if companies are trying to, sneak one past consumers?
For sure. And there's tremendous sentiment that still remains well after the tariffs were first talked about in Canada, in and around people wanting to buy Canadian and saying they will buy Canadian. Now, that is diminishing from the standpoint of what people are actually doing.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
yes. So as much as people say that they want to buy Canadian, pricing primarily and other factors, but primarily pricing, are really preventing that being translated into that sentiment. So as much as we all want to support Canada, I think there's a great feeling in our country that this is an opportunity to do the right thing, but a lot of times the economics don't allow that.
My heart says buy Canadian, but my wallet says no, maybe not today.
100%. 100%. And so as it relates to maple washing, particularly in the grocery world with the big chains. From my perspective, this is not this Machiavellian strategy that the large grocers have put in place to dupe Canadians.
So you don't think Loblaws was purposely trying to trick consumers?
I do not. I think that would be a very bad strategy on their part.
I mean, they've had some bad press over the years for things that they were trying to manipulate and control.
Absolutely. And I think, when it comes to pricing issues, the consumer has every right to be skeptical in and around what the motivation is. I also think it's interesting that historically CFIA has not introduced fines. It's simply been warnings. The fines that they've given out are pretty significant.
Yeah.
$10,000 to the one store, I believe, in Toronto. So I think that's meant to act as a precedent and suggest that if you are thinking of kind of dressing up the pig and trying to create an idea that something's Canadian when it's not, or is loosely based on being a Canadian product, think twice.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good move on their part, but I don't believe corporately that they have a strategy to go out and label things Canadian that aren't.
But Loblaw's in their response basically said like, hey, if you're a consumer and you notice something is a little fishy, let us know.
Yes.
Did you think that was a weird way to kind of respond to these fines as opposed to saying, oh, we're going to do better next time?
Yeah, I think the response that the consumer would have expected is, yeah, we're going to be more stringent.
Yeah.
We put programs or rules or.
Because why do I have to do detective work on whether something's made in Canada or not?
No, for sure, for sure. And I think that again, the consumer needs to be protected. We shouldn't be doing our own diligence in and around what that looks like if we want to buy Canadian.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bob, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Mo. My pleasure.
Folks, that was the CEO of PS&Co, Bob Stamnes. Now, after some business, I think that there might be a conspiracy when it comes to the Canadian conspiracy slop that's being pushed to you on social media. We'll talk about it up next.